Welcome back to the TheGTruth. I know I did take a long break. I did not record at all during Thanksgiving break. So that was last week. I did not record at all, and I'm a day late uploading this and recording this. Part of that is due to this area of the library, the sound room, being booked, so I wasn't able to record last night or Tuesday night and then upload it Wednesday morning. I'm recording Wednesday night instead and uploading it Thursday morning, and I'm thinking about recording Thursday night as well, like I normally do. But I think it was all for the better because I really wasn't feeling too good emotionally, mentally Tuesday night, and now I feel a lot better. I did get a bit of a sickness, a bit of a cough. Hopefully it doesn't affect too much, but bear with me if it does. Otherwise, other than that, I had a great Thanksgiving break. I listened to a lot of music on the flight there and back. I listened to a lot of Fun, as in the artist, the band. And so I listened to a whole bunch of their songs, Stars, All Right, I Want to Be the One, All the Pretty Girls, Some Nights, Carry On, and We Are Young, and a couple more. I listened to some other bands as well. This is my overall playlist. Really, really fun time. I got to see Frozen 2 as well. I got to see it twice, so that was really, really fun. Which is interesting because the first movie came out when I was, 12? Because it came out 6 years ago, and now I'm 18, so it's pretty cool. It was really fun. Even though it's, technically adult now, but it was really fun. It was actually weirdly a kind of dark movie. It was pretty cool. And then earlier this week, we got snow in Boston, so that was really cool. I love just walking around in the snow. It's weirdly calming, but also really, really enjoyable. But we did have a huge weekend of football. We had the Niners and the Ravens squaring off. The Ravens won with the last-second field goal. We had some other matchups. We had the Texans downing the Patriots, and the Patriots almost began to come back, but not really. They almost got that onside kick, which would have been crazy. We got the Seahawks beating the Vikings. Kirk Cousins not showing up when it mattered the most, but otherwise playing pretty well for that whole game, and most of that game. And Russell Wilson doing Russell Wilson things. Actually, he wasn't playing superb that game, but still got the win. But I can't get to all of that, so I'm just going to do my power rankings because I also want to talk a bit of basketball and what I saw precise. I'm going to nitpick on the Utah Jazz just one more time, and then I'm going to leave them be. Just one more time. And there are two teams. So 2 weeks ago I did two teams I'm worried about, which were the Jazz and the Spurs this week. I'm going to do two teams that I'm really, really excited about going forward. So I'm going to start off with my NFL power rankings, just as a way to wrap everything up that happened this weekend, really, and the weekend before that, all together in my power rankings. So let's get on to it. At 10 in my power rankings. In my power rankings, at number 10, I have the Minnesota Vikings. Yes, I know they lost to the Seahawks on Monday Night Football, and now they're at 8-4, but they're the best non-contending team out there. Everyone from here on out, from this list on, is going to be contending for us, are going to be actual, somewhat contenders for the Super Bowl. And the Vikings, I don't think that they're contending for it. I think that they're going to be in the playoffs, but I don't think that they're going to be a serious contender. So they're the best non-contending team in my opinion, and they play teams really, really close, but they can't win against teams with winning records. As of now, against teams with winning records, they're 0-3 against the Packers, Chiefs, and that was with Matt Moore and the Seahawks. They are not as good as their record says, which is 8-4, but they can prove me wrong and all the other Kirk Cousins doubters wrong on Monday Night Football, which is interesting. Monday Night Football, where Kirk Cousins, I think it says, the first quarterback to lose his first 8 Monday Night Football starts. Sorry, which is insane. That'll be on December 23rd against the Packers. Should be an interesting game, and if he can get it done, then maybe I can start putting a bit of faith into that team. But otherwise, I'm putting them at 10. At number 9, I have the Buffalo Bills. Again, I started off the season by doubting this team by saying, yeah, they're going to go, I think I said 7-9, I think I said 7-9. But I did also say that if their defense is one of the best defenses in the league, which it is as of right now, third in the whole league, they can make some noise. They will be in the playoffs. I said that a long time ago. It all came down to their defense, and their offense can do enough to win games as well. But it's mainly that defense. But they have a tough road ahead against the Ravens, Steelers, and Patriots. And those games are going to show, are they really that good? Because prior to that, they faced a lot of bottom feeder teams. And yes, they won those, but these are real contending teams, aside from the Steelers. But even then, beating a quality team. And number 8, I have the Houston Texans. They dominated the Patriots, even though the score will say otherwise, as it was within a touchdown. And I think within a touchdown. Deshaun Watson has been playing great, but as a whole team and a bit of Deshaun Watson, they've been up and down week to week. They lose against the Colts, they can barely score, and then they crush the Patriots. They've been up and down. It's hard for me to put them higher than this. I would, but they've just been so up and down. And number 7, I have the Patriots. I'm not worried about the Patriots now that they're 10-2 and just got their second loss. First to the Ravens, now to the Houston Texans. I'm not going to be concerned about them until they lose to the Chiefs. But even then, I think that will actually be a blessing in disguise. As I mentioned earlier, that they can lose to any of these teams, the Texans, Ravens. But if they lose to the Chiefs, it'll flip a switch. It'll flip a switch within them, and from then on, they'll look a lot better. Now, that might be just because their schedule looks immensely easier after the Chiefs, but I think that if they lose the Chiefs, it'll be a blessing in disguise. They'll get into shape, they'll get first or second seed, and from there, they can just do the New England way of, the shortest way to the Super Bowl. And number 6, I have the Packers. Now, I think that they're going to end the season pretty nicely. They have a pretty nice end to the season schedule-wise, and they're going to be in contention for a top 2 seed between the New Orleans Saints and the Seattle Seahawks, and a bit of the San Francisco 49ers, although the Niners got pushed down to the 5th seed because the Seahawks have that division in their hands right now. But I think that the Packers look really, really good right now. Even though I doubted them earlier in the season, I said that they would go 9-7, but they're going to make some noise in the playoffs, and they look really, really good. They look really, really good. And number 5, I have the Chiefs. They are going back to their old selves by putting up 40 points on the Raiders. They can prove themselves more, not to myself or to the audience, to anyone else, but to their own selves against the Patriots as a almost redemption game for last year, to really play and win, and to look at themselves and say, you know what, we're capable of winning it all this year and going forward. So if they do beat the Patriots, it can set up for a pretty interesting playoff run in the AFC. And number 4, I have the Saints. Now, the interesting thing is that they're 10-2. They're the first seed in the NFC. But I have them at number 4. Yes. I just want to see them beat the Niners. Yes, they play the Niners this weekend. I just want to see them play the Niners, and I want to see their offense and defense work together and win the game. They are probably the most balanced squad all around in the whole league, but I need to see that win something against a big opponent. So for them, they need to validate themselves to me, not so much to themselves, because I think that they're pretty good, and they probably know that they're really, really good. But to me, as viewing them as a title contender, they got to prove it to me. And number 3, I have the 49ers. Now, they're neck and neck with the Ravens, but the Ravens got the better of them, and it continues. My only doubt of the Niners roster, I didn't doubt their defense. I doubted how quickly they would develop and get to where they are right now, and boy did I underestimate them. They're incredibly good on defense. But that offense with Jimmy G, that's my only concern. And what happened against the Ravens is going to happen in the playoffs, where he has to make big plays in big moments, and he didn't. And I don't think he will in the playoffs, but they are still a really, really good team. And number 2, I have the Seahawks, and at number 1, I have the Ravens. 2 of the best teams who seem to be on a collision course in the Super Bowl, but I wouldn't wait for a bit. on that prediction. But the Seahawks are 9-1 in one possession games, which is insane, which bodes really well for them in the playoffs. Now, the question is that going to be a bit too much mental turmoil and a lot of mental fatigue from the whole season that's going to cost them in the playoffs? I don't think so much, but again, they have Russell Wilson, who in my books is the MVP. They look really, really good, and they are, in some people's minds, probably a Super Bowl favorite or a runner-up favorite. And the Super Bowl favorite right now, probably, to many people, is the Baltimore Ravens, who I have at number 1, who are continuing their dominance and have not stopped since they lost against the Browns in an embarrassing fashion. And no one has really found a way to stop Lamar Jackson. Yes, the Niners did slow him down, but again, he had over 100 yards rushing. There's no way to really stop him. No one's found a way yet, especially with his passing skills improving by the week. So to recap, within the first 5, I have the Chiefs, Saints, Niners, Seahawks, Ravens. So that's what? Actually, within the first 6, that would also include the Packers. So if I'm just looking at the first 6, I have 1, 2, 3. I have 4 NFC teams within the top 6, which is crazy. But the number 1 team resides in the AFC, and that's the Ravens. And then after 6, which is the Packers, I have the Patriots, Texans, Bills, Vikings. I don't think any of those teams, aside from the Patriots, are really going to do something huge in the playoffs. I think that the Texans and Bills are contending, but they're not going to be Super Bowl contenders in my mind. So from there, I'm going to hop on to 2 teams I'm looking forward to. And this is not so much December, but, a bit December, but these are going to be 2 teams that I'm looking forward to late December and mainly next year in January, February, and so on. So the first team I'm looking forward to is the Indiana Pacers. And this is especially with Victor Oladipo possibly returning soon. Not quite yet, but maybe January, February, later in the season. And I know that the Indiana Pacers do not have a timetable for Victor Oladipo just yet, but even then, they have Malcolm Brogdon and Donatas Sabonis leading the charge and doing a terrific job. As I'm recording this, they're 13-7 and playing the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are a great team. They blew out the Jazz, but the Jazz have their own problems I'm going to get to really, really soon. They're doing great. And when you look at where they are offensively, because defensively, they're, the 6th best team, I think, defensive rating-wise, or maybe points given up per game, something like that. 6th best defense. But offensively, they're 14th in the offensive rating, and not really surprising, they're last in free throws per game, which are both going to tremendously go up with the return of Victor Oladipo, and it'll really add an element to that team, just like it did last season when he came back, and that whole team looked completely different and looked really, really good. So I'm extremely excited for his return, which will more likely happen than not. And I really think that this team with Victor Oladipo, and only with Victor Oladipo, can possibly go on a run in the playoffs, but that only happens if Oladipo's on that team. The second team I'm interested to look at going forward from late December and from then on until the playoff time is the Portland Trailblazers. Yes, they got Carmelo Anthony. He got Player of the Week. There's some controversy in that. I personally believe that should have been Luka or James Harden, but again, I don't really have a huge problem with Carmelo Anthony getting it for big first week back from on the couch to the NBA. Puts up those numbers, 23 points or something like that per game for that week. You gotta give him credit. So even though some people are saying that, just like how I said, it should have gone to Luka or James Harden. Drop my pen. Luka or James Harden. Again, Carmelo Anthony definitely did deserve it and did definitely have an argument for it. But from then on, Portland Trailblazers, looking at their schedule for December, I think that they're going to get 10, 11 wins, maybe, and before, I think that they're 8-13, 8-13. So that should put them around 18, 17, so maybe around the 500 mark, I think, by the end of December. And they'll be around the playoff 7th, 8th seed, I think. But they'll be right there in the midst of it. They'll get some noise, but they'll look really, really good come January time. And I think that with Carmelo Anthony there and them getting wins against lesser teams, they'll build some momentum, and things are going to start to click, and they're going to be really, really fun to watch. So those are two teams that I'm looking forward to: the Pacers and Trailblazers. So I'm going to take a quick break right now, and when I come back, I'm going to talk about the Utah Jazz. I'm going to nitpick at them for one last time, and this is going to be about their 20-point loss against the Toronto Raptors, where they were down by 40 points. But it's going to be not so much criticizing, well, it's going to be a bit of criticizing them, but it's going to be looking at the film. What I saw, what things I saw trending, things I didn't like mainly, and some things I actually did like, and how they could do better. So it's not supposed to be yeah, they suck, but it should be, they didn't do good, but they could definitely do better, and they definitely have the tools to do it. So I'll get to that once I get back. And I'm back, and I know you may be wondering this, but yes, I did get a haircut, and I think it looks pretty good. I got it during Thanksgiving break. I think it was on, I want to say, Saturday? I'm not sure. Anyways, what I do know is that I'm still worried about the Utah Jazz. As I'm recording this, they are down to the Lakers, and before the Lakers even started playing against the Jazz Wednesday night, which is when I'm recording this, I had the Lakers winning by, I think, 11 or 13 points on the NBA Weekly 6. Yeah, I'm extremely, extremely worried about the Utah Jazz. If they lose this game, which they probably will, they'll be 12-10, and they really should be much, much, much better than this. So the way that I'm going to look at this, because I did bring this up 2 weeks ago after I think they barely beat the Warriors, and I brought this up about how worried I am about them, and then they had this loss to the Raptors, lost to, I think, the Clippers, and now against the Lakers. I'm worried about them. And again, it's not so much about their defense, because their defense will be fine. They can have one bad game like they did against the Raptors defensively, and I'm not going to worry about their defense at all. It's the offense I'm worrying about. So let's look at that Utah Jazz and Raptors game, where the Utah Jazz were down by 40 points at halftime. Alright, obviously the defense was not great during that game. They allowed 77 points at halftime, but only scored 37 points. So, yes, the defense was not good by any means at all. But that offense was not doing its share. And when you have, in the modern NBA, if it's that high scoring of a game, if it's that high scoring, the pace is probably really, really, really high. So you gotta score probably 50, 60 points. Come on. That's like the bare minimum for a good team, even if you're getting blown out. Score some points. I know that they have like the worst pace in the whole league, but again, come on. The Mavericks have the worst pace, or one of the worst paces in the whole league, but they are like the second or third best scoring in the whole league as well. So pace is not really the whole issue, but I'm straying from the point. I'm bringing up points that I had 2 weeks ago. So back to this Utah Jazz versus Raptors game. Yes, obviously the defense was not great, and those 77 points by the Raptors had a lot to do with the Raptors just being on fire from three. They were 13 of 19 from three in that first half, and the Utah Jazz were simply lazy and sloppy with their turnovers, which led to quite a few points. In the first half, they had 12 turnovers, which led to 16 points in the following possession. And they allowed a lot of fast breaks from missed baskets, from missed shots, whether it be free throw or just regular shots, which led to fast break points and easy points, which were layups or lobs or whatnot. And even then, with a steady slow down offense in the half-court setting, Siakam would just get the ball on the block and just dominate from the post and in the paint. So yes, the defense could have done a lot better, yes. But I want to focus on the offense because the offense was atrocious, only scoring 37 points in the first half. In the first half. So the biggest thing I noticed, the biggest flaw I noticed with the Utah Jazz is that everyone just stands around on offense. No one touches the basket at all. Even the ball handler makes probably one attempt to make a drive into the lane, and then from there just quits. He'll just back out. So multiple possessions just go like this. Someone's dribbling at the top of the arc with the ball, calls over Rudy Gobert or some other big man for a screen, takes the screen, Rudy Gobert, rolls to the basket, or some other big man rolls to the basket. The point guard or shooting guard or whoever's handling the ball does not pass it to the big guy, but instead either goes back out to the 3-point line and then does some ISO ball and checks up a bad shot, which happened a whole bunch, especially with Donovan Mitchell, and a lot of my concern with him is poor shot selection. Or they'll do what Donovan Mitchell or Mike Conley did at times, which is make a drive off the pick and roll, and immediately as soon as they feel someone start coming over, they'll just dish it out to the wing shooter. But at that point, it's so easy for the defender to come back out from double teaming that you really don't do anything. You don't make a good shot happen, and really you're just giving up the ball for no reason. So that was one problem. And another problem was that they were really, really predictable at times, where they'd have someone at the corner 3-point line, and then they'd have a double screen with the wing shooter and Rudy Gobert usually, a double screen for that corner 3 guy to come up and shoot a catch and shoot 3 off of those screens from whoever's holding onto the ball at the top of the arc. And initially that sounds like a really, really good idea because they usually get pretty decent looks. But after a while, it becomes incredibly predictable, where at that point, it becomes contested anyways. So, lack of ball movement, lack of body movement especially, is one of the biggest problems that I've noticed with the Utah Jazz. But there were other problems as well, such as in the first half, I noticed that they did not give Rudy Gobert the ball at all when he had really, really good positioning in the paint. There were times where he would have someone smaller than him, and he'd be backing them all the way down, where he'd be literally under the rim. And yes, he didn't get his footing down or be the most stable. But even then, you just dribble the ball out or just hold on to it for a bit until he gets that positioning figured out, which probably takes a split second, and you just throw it at him. And you either get an easy post shot or a little floater or a little dunk, or you get a foul on the opposing point guard or center, or whoever's guarding him, because he's that deep in the paint. And that happened multiple times, but they never passed it to him when he was that deep into the paint. And again, they did not help themselves at all with poor shot selection, namely from Donovan Mitchell, but it also happened several times with other players as well. But there were some things that I liked in that first half that I want to see a bit more of. The biggest thing I want to see more of from that first half is Mike Conley having that pick and roll with Rudy Gobert. Mike Conley does a great job of keeping that defender of Rudy Gobert, which I think at the time was Marc Gasol or any other big for the Toronto Raptors, between them both, but not committing to Mike Conley completely, and actually more backing off towards Rudy Gobert. And Mike Conley also does a great job of keeping his own defender, which probably was Fred VanVleet or Kyle Lowry or whoever was on the court guarding him at that time, either behind him or to his side, which allows a lot of nice, easy floaters, whether they go in or not. Because I don't care if these shots go in or not. As long as they're good shots, I can live with it. And I can say, hey, we'll make those shots another day. Today's just not our day. But if they're good shots, I can say that. If they're poor shots, like what happened for a lot of the first half, I can't say that. I can say, yeah, we got to go back to the film and figure it out from there. So I want to see a lot more of that. My Conley pick and roll with Rudy Gobert, where he pins his defender behind him or to the side, allowing for a nice, easy floater, as well as a potential lob to Rudy Gobert, forcing that defender to either commit to Rudy Gobert or to Mike Conley. But that did not happen for a lot of the first half. There were small moments where it did happen, but I want to see a lot more of it. But the good news for the Utah Jazz is that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. At the end of this long tunnel. And it's going to take a while to get there. So for the main thing for the Utah Jazz is they can address these problems. And I know that they can definitely address it because in the third quarter they did. They had 40 points in the third quarter, which is more than they had for the first half, and they had 0 turnovers. They played a lot more urgently. They had better shot selections. They just overall played better. They gave Rudy Gobert the ball while he was in the paint, and they got fouls drawn from it, or they allowed him to score. They had Donovan Mitchell taking it into the paint rather than settling for bad three-point shots and completing his drive with acrobatic layups, which is his expertise. And what he actually does better than three-point shooting is driving to the paint and getting those acrobatic layups to fall. And instead of passing out and stuff like that, and actually taking initiative and driving to the hoop, and did a lot of what Mike Conley did in that first half, which is what I liked, which is that floater. And Mike Conley also obviously did more of that. But also there's much more ball movement, a lot more cutting, a lot more passing, which led to easy dunks or easy layups, or mid-range shots in general. So I know that the Utah Jazz are capable of doing it. They did it in that third quarter. They just need to have the urgency and fire and discipline, mainly, that they had in the third quarter in order to do it. And if they're able to move the ball around like that and have that discipline, fire, and urgency, and are able to drive to the rim instead of passing it out and being committed to doing that and limit their turnovers, it doesn't have to be 0 because that's not going to happen for a whole game or for a whole half. But limit their turnovers in general, take more floaters, mid-range shots instead of settling for three-point shots like they did for a whole bunch of that game. They can definitely get back on track and avoid, although they're probably going to go down 12-10 as I'm recording this, they can probably avoid sliding a lot farther down in the playoff race and finally get back to where I think they really can be, which is a top 3-4 seed. So that's my spiel on the Utah Jazz. That's my last time I'm going to be criticizing them until something crazy happens. But I think this is the last time I'm going to nitpick at them. So, yeah. Anyways, that will do it for this episode of The TheGTruth. I think I'm going to be recording tomorrow and then I'll upload on Friday. But we'll see if there's anything for me to talk about or anything interesting I am thinking about. And I do have one thing in my mind that I think could be really, really cool. Until then, until I record next time, this is The TheGTruth. Peace out.